Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare dime coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today we are stepping into the fascinating world of American coin history, and the star of our story is the 1968 Roosevelt dime. At first glance it looks like any other small silver-colored coin you might pass without a thought, but hidden inside this tiny piece of metal is a surprising amount of history, mystery, and incredible value potential. So pay close attention, because if you love collecting coins or hunting for hidden treasures, this might be one of the most exciting dimes you ever hear about. The 1968 Roosevelt dime came at a turning point in United States coinage. Just a couple of years before, the country had ended the use of real silver in everyday dimes, so the 1968 version was made of copper and nickel. Most people held these dimes in their pockets and wallets without ever imagining anything special about them. But collectors know the truth: even in ordinary years, there are extraordinary coins waiting to be discovered. The first thing that makes the 1968 dime interesting is the return of the visible mint mark. After a pause in mint marking, 1968 brought back the tiny letter above the date, D for Denver and S for San Francisco. Most of these coins are completely common, worth only their face value. But a small number of coins struck that year turned out very different from the rest, and those are the ones collectors are chasing. Some 1968 dimes were struck with exceptionally sharp detail, known to collectors as high-grade mint state coins. These dimes shine brightly, with crisp lines across the torch, clear lettering, and flawless surfaces. When a dime from this year earns the special full bands designation, meaning the bands on the torch are fully separated and deeply struck, it instantly becomes more desirable. The better the detail, the higher the value, and the more collectors compete for it, but the real excitement comes from the rare errors. A handful of 1968 proof dimes from San Francisco were accidentally made without the S mint mark. Imagine a coin that should have proudly displayed its birthplace, but the mint mark was never punched into the die. These error dimes are so scarce that finding one in the wild would be like winning a miniature lottery. Other errors, like doubled features on the words or numbers, add even more spice to the hunt. These mistakes were never meant to escape the mint, but a few did, and collectors prize them today. So what can these coins be worth? A normal circulated 1968 dime is worth only 10 cents. A sharp uncirculated example can rise into a few dollars. But a high-grade full bands coin can rise into the hundreds. And the rarest treasures, the missing mint mark proof dimes or dramatic double die errors, have sold in auctions for amounts reaching into the thousands of dollars in words, several $1,000s depending on condition and rarity. The moral of the story? Never underestimate a dime. The next time you sift through a jar of old coins, look carefully at the mint mark, the details, the shine, and the date. Hidden among the ordinary, you might discover a 1968 Roosevelt dime that turns out to be far more than 10 cents. For collectors, this little coin is a reminder that history often hides in the smallest places, and sometimes, those tiny pieces of history are worth far more than you expect. Top 2. We are diving into the world of hidden treasure that might be sitting quietly inside your pocket, your drawer, or your old coin jar. And the star of our story today is the United States of America 1974 Roosevelt dime. At first glance it looks simple, small, and ordinary, but collectors know that sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest surprises. So coin lovers, listen closely, because this tiny dime from 1974 has secrets that only careful eyes can uncover. The year 1974 was a busy one for the U.S. Mint. Billions of dimes were struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark, in Denver with the familiar D, and beautifully mirrored proof coins were struck in San Francisco with the S mint mark. Most people never looked twice at them. They jingled in pockets, paid for bubble gum, vending machines, and morning coffee. But a very small number of these coins avoided wear, damage, and years of circulation. Those untouched survivors are the ones collectors chase today. What makes a 1974 dime rare or valuable? First comes condition. A normal dime with scratches and wear is worth only 10 cents. But imagine finding one with original shine, no scratches, no dullness, no worn edges, a coin that looks like it was frozen in time. These high-grade mint state coins are the gems of the year. The rarest of all are the sharply struck examples where the torch bands on the reverse are fully separated, a sign of perfect striking power. These full-detail dimes are incredibly hard to find from 1974, and that rarity boosts value immediately. Then come the errors, the true treasures of the coin world. Some 1974 Roosevelt dimes escaped the mint with dramatic mistakes. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, double-struck coins, and doubled lettering on the date or the word Liberty are among the most desirable. These errors are not just mistakes, they are accidental masterpieces. Each one is unique, and collectors love owning something nobody else has. Even a small error on a 1974 dime can turn an ordinary coin into a surprising prize. Proof dimes from San Francisco add another layer of excitement. These mirror-finished coins were made for collectors, not circulation. A typical proof is worth more than a regular dime, but a perfect deep cameo proof, one with frosted details and reflective surfaces, becomes something truly special. Only a small fraction grade that high, making them favorites among serious collectors. So what is the real value of the 1974 Roosevelt 1 dime today? Most coins remain worth exactly 10 cents. Bright uncirculated examples may be worth a few dollars. High-grade mint state pieces with strong detail can rise noticeably higher. Beautiful proof coins may reach into the tens. And rare errors or top-level high-grade examples have sold for amounts in words such as several $100s depending on rarity and condition. So the next time you pick up a 1974 dime, don't underestimate it. Look closely. Shine a light on it. Because inside this little coin from 1974, you might just discover a piece of history worth far more than 10 cents, and maybe even the beginning of your next great coin collecting adventure. Top 3. We are reaching deep into the pockets of history to uncover a hidden gem, the 1996 Roosevelt 1 dime from the United States. You might pick up a dime without a second thought, but if you pause, stare and inspect closely, you may just be holding something far more interesting than pocket change. The 1996 Roosevelt dime was minted mostly in Philadelphia, without mint mark, and in Denver, with a small d under the torch. A smaller number were struck as proof sets in San Francisco with the elegant S. On the surface, these coins were struck for everyday use. They jingled in register drawers, rolled around in coin trays, and lived out their life buying gum, bus fare, or a soda. Most of them ended up worn, scuffed, and forgotten, hardly the stuff of collectors' dreams, but a tiny fraction escaped wear and tear. Some rolled straight from the mint into albums or drawers, never touched by human hands again. These pristine survivors, with sharp details, lustrous surfaces, and crisp edges, are what coin collectors dream about. The best ones shine like new, with every detail of Roosevelt's profile, every ridge of the torch's bands, and each letter on the rim perfectly preserved. These high-grade dimes are rare, because out of millions struck, only a handful resist the wear of time. Then there are the mistakes, the real treasures that most people overlook. Perhaps a dime fell off-center during striking, or the planchet was clipped, or the coin was double-struck. Maybe the mint mark punch didn't work right and left a proof dime missing its S. These errors are unplanned quirks of minting, and each one is like a tiny accident turned into a collector's prize. Even common-dated 1996 dimes can surprise you. When they're uncirculated, they may look more like a collector's piece than pocket change. But combine high-grade strike, full detail, untouched surfaces, and sometimes a hint of error, and you have something special. If your 1996 dime glows under light, shows no wear on Roosevelt's cheek and hair, has crisp torch bands, clean lettering, and sharp edges, that could be the one. If the coin shows slight misalignment, doubled letters, or a clipped edge, don't toss it away. Instead, examine it under magnification or hold it up to a light. You might just snag something rare. So what could this dime be worth today? For most 1996 Roosevelt dimes, just 10 cents. If you happen to find one in perfect uncirculated condition, maybe $1 or $2, sometimes up to $5 for a crisp example. If you find a well-struck, uncirculated Denver or Philadelphia coin with full detail and strong eye appeal, it might be worth $10 to $30. A proof S coin in excellent condition could fetch $20 to $40. And if you are lucky enough to uncover a genuine error, an off-center strike, clipped planchet, double strike, or missing mint mark, auction bidders might pay hundreds of dollars for that dime. So next time you sift through coins or sweep up loose change, slow down. Look at dates. Look for mint marks. Shine a light on those torches. Because sometimes in the smallest, most ordinary coin rests a tiny treasure, a 1996 Roosevelt dime that's more than pocket change. Top 4. We are exploring one of the most overlooked yet surprisingly exciting coins hiding in old drawers, jars, and forgotten boxes, the United States of America 1970 Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it looks like a small, ordinary 10-cent piece. But coin collectors know that the 1970 dime carries its own quiet mystery, tiny details, and rare possibilities that make people search through their spare change with new excitement. The year 1970 came right in the middle of the copper-nickel-clad era, after the U.S. removed silver from circulating dimes. Billions of these coins were minted in Philadelphia without a mint mark, in Denver with a bold D, and in San Francisco where beautiful proof strikes were created for collectors. Most of these coins lived normal lives in cash registers, grocery stores, laundromats, and pockets. But some never entered circulation at all. They stayed crisp, untouched, full of shimmer, and those are the dimes that collectors dream of finding today. What makes the 1970 dime interesting is how the majority were struck weakly. Many have dull details, mushy lettering, and faint torch bands on the reverse. This makes sharp, high-grade examples genuinely hard to find. A 1970 dime with strong strike, glowing luster, and full torch band stands out immediately. The sharper and clearer the details, the rarer the coin becomes, and collectors love rarity. Now let's talk about what really gets coin lovers excited: errors. The 1970 Roosevelt dime has several known error types that slipped past the mint machines. Some were struck slightly off-center, creating that eye-catching shifted design. Others were minted on clipped planchets where part of the metal blank was missing. Even more unusual are double-struck and die-cut errors, where parts of the design appear distorted, doubled, or raised. These errors happened accidentally, but today they turn simple dimes into miniature treasures. Because error coins are unpredictable and unique, collectors value them far more than common pieces. Another exciting piece of the 1970 story comes from the San Francisco proof dimes. These mirror-finished coins were struck for collectors, not for pocket change. Their frost-on mirror contrast is stunning to look at. High-grade deep cameo proofs from 1970 are loved by serious collectors who want a flawless, eye-catching example for their sets. So now the big question: what is a 1970 Roosevelt dime actually worth today? Most worn dimes from this year are worth exactly 10 cents. Uncirculated bright examples may be worth a few dollars. A high-grade mint state coin with strong detail can reach tens of dollars. Deep cameo-proof coins from San Francisco may reach into the range of $20 to $30 depending on condition. And rare error dimes, such as strong off-center strikes or dramatic clipped planchets, have sold for amounts in words like several $100s at auctions when the condition and rarity align. So the next time you dump out a handful of coins or check an old jar in the closet, take a closer look. That tiny 1970 Roosevelt dime might not just be a piece of change, it could be a piece of history, a rare error, a high-grade survivor, or even a hidden treasure waiting for the right collector to notice it. Top 5. We are diving deep into the fascinating world of a coin that millions of people use every day without ever realizing its hidden secrets: the United States of America 1989 Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it's small and seems ordinary, the kind of coin that disappears into pockets, car cup holders, and dusty corners of old drawers. But if you look closely, this tiny dime from 1989 has stories, surprises, and potential value that can make any coin lover pause, lean in, and look again. The year 1989 was a heavy production year for the U.S. Mint. Philadelphia produced mountains of dimes without a mint mark, Denver released its own massive wave of D-mint dimes, and San Francisco crafted gorgeous proof versions with the S-mint mark. With so many made, most people assume that every single 1989 dime is common. But collectors know that rarity doesn't always come from low mintage. Sometimes, rarity hides in condition, in errors, and in the small number of coins that somehow remained untouched by the passing decades. Most 1989 dimes were struck for fast circulation, which means many left the mint with softer details. That's why finding a sharp, crisply struck example is harder than it sounds. If you ever come across one where Roosevelt's hair is sharply separated, his cheek is smooth without wear, the rim is complete, and the torch bands on the reverse are fully defined, you may be holding something surprisingly special. These high-grade gems stand out immediately under the light. They sparkle, they shine, and collectors will always pay attention to them because so few survived in perfect condition, but the real excitement for many collectors comes from the unexpected, the mistakes. The 1989 Roosevelt dime has some fascinating errors that slipped through mint inspection. Imagine finding a dime struck off-center, with part of the design shifted dramatically to one side. Or a coin minted on a clipped planchet, leaving a curved bite missing from its edge. There are double-struck dimes, where two impressions overlap each other like a ghostly shadow. There are die cracks that leave raised lines or metal lumps, making each coin totally unique. These error coins were never meant to be released, yet a few of them quietly entered circulation and now serve as miniature treasures for anyone lucky enough to discover them. And then we have the proof dimes. These coins from San Francisco shine differently. They weren't made for lunch money or bus fare. They were crafted for collectors, with deep, mirror-like fields that reflect light like glass and frosted details that pop beautifully. A deep cameo proof from 1989 is especially eye-catching, with perfect contrast between dark mirror surfaces and frosty raised features. When preserved in high-grade condition, these proof dimes are more than coins, they are little works of art. With all this in mind, what is the actual value of a 1989 Roosevelt dime today? The truth is that most circulated examples remain worth 10 cents. A clean uncirculated example may be worth only a few dollars. A sharply struck mint state coin with excellent eye appeal can rise into the range of $10 to $20. Proof dimes in deep cameo condition may reach $20 to $40 or more. And the most precious pieces of all, the rare and dramatic mint errors, have sold at auctions for amounts in words such as several $100s depending on the severity of the error and the coin's condition. So the next time you hold a simple 1989 dime, don't just toss it aside. Turn it over. Tilt it toward the light. Examine the details. Because hidden among millions of ordinary coins, one extraordinary dime might be waiting for the right collector to discover it, and that collector could be you. Top 6. We are unlocking the hidden story behind a coin that millions of people overlook every single day, the United States of America 1972 Roosevelt 1 dime. This small coin, light as a feather and easy to ignore, has spent decades in pockets, drawers, coffee jars, and dusty old tins. But for true collectors and coin lovers, the 1972 dime is far more than a simple piece of change. It carries mystery, hidden value, and a surprising number of rare possibilities that make it worth examining with careful eyes. In 1972, the U.S. Mint produced huge numbers of dimes at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, and the San Francisco Mint created beautiful proof versions. With so many minted, most people assume that every 1972 dime is common, and for the most part, that's true. But the magic begins when you find one that avoided the everyday wear and tear of circulation. Sharp edges, clean surfaces, glowing luster, crisp details on Roosevelt's face and the torch bands on the reverse, these untouched survivors are far harder to find than you might think. Most 1972 dimes left the mint with relatively soft, average strikes, so a perfectly struck example becomes instantly noticeable and instantly desirable. Collectors especially look for strength in the torch bands. A 1972 dime with fully separated bands shows precision in minting and stands out dramatically when compared to the average example. These high-grade pieces shine brighter, look sharper, and earn far more attention from collectors building top-quality Roosevelt dime sets, but where the 1972 dime becomes truly exciting is in its error coins. This year produced a surprising variety of mistakes, the kind that slip past mint machinery and turn ordinary coins into rare treasures. Some 1972 dimes were struck off-center, giving the design a dramatic tilt. Others were struck on clipped planchets, leaving a curved bite taken out of the edge. Double-struck coins show overlapping details, like a ghost image behind the main design. There are even die cracks, filled dies, and distorted lettering that add uniqueness to each error coin. These mistakes are accidental but extremely collectible, and because each error is different, every one tells its own story. Proof coins from San Francisco add another layer of beauty. These were struck for collectors, not pocket change, and they feature mirror-like surfaces and frosted details. When a 1972 proof dime survives in perfect condition with strong cameo or deep cameo contrast, it becomes a true gem, admired not just for rarity but for artistic craftsmanship. Now for the part collectors wait for, the real value of the 1972 Roosevelt dime. Most circulated examples remain worth 10 cents. A clean uncirculated example may bring a few dollars. A high-grade mint state dime with strong detail can rise into the tens of dollars. A sharp, deeply contrasted proof coin may reach into the range of $20 to $30. And the rarest treasures, dramatic off-center errors, double strikes, and stunning high-grade survivors, have sold for amounts in words such as several $100s at auctions depending on condition and rarity. So the next time your fingers touch a simple 1972 dime, pause for a moment. Tilt it under a light. Look closely at every detail. Because hidden in that tiny coin could be a rare piece of American history waiting to be discovered, and it might just be worth far more than 10 cents. Top 7, and last rare coin. We are diving into the fascinating world of coins that millions pass by every day, focusing on a small but historically interesting piece, the United States of America 1967 Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it's tiny, light, and might seem completely ordinary, the kind of coin that jingles in your pocket without notice. But for collectors and enthusiasts, the 1967 dime holds stories, surprises, and the potential for unexpected value, making it a treasure waiting to be discovered. The 1967 Roosevelt dime was minted during a time of change in U.S. coinage. It was one of the last years before the end of silver in dimes had fully taken effect in the public's mind. Philadelphia and Denver produced massive quantities, and the San Francisco Mint issued the proof versions for collectors. Most coins were intended for circulation, and billions went into wallets, cash registers, and coin jars. For everyday use, they did their job quietly, but among them were some pieces that would become highly desirable decades later. Condition plays a huge role in the rarity of 1967 dimes. Most were heavily circulated, showing scratches, dull surfaces, and worn details. But a handful survived unscathed, maintaining a brilliant luster and sharp strikes. These high-grade examples are particularly attractive to collectors because they show Roosevelt's profile in perfect detail, with fully defined torch bands on the reverse. The sharper and cleaner the strike, the more collectible the coin becomes, and coins with exceptional eye appeal can stand out among millions. The excitement truly intensifies when we talk about error coins. The 1967 dime has several intriguing variations that slipped through mint quality control. Some were struck off-center, leaving a portion of the design missing or shifted, while others were double-struck, creating overlapping features that seem almost like a ghost image. Clipped planchets, die cracks, and doubling on letters or numbers are other examples of errors that occurred. These mistakes were accidental, yet today they are sought after because they are unique, rare, and often fetch high prices among collectors. A single dramatic error can turn an otherwise common dime into a highly desirable collectible. Proof coins from San Francisco add an artistic and historical element. These were struck for collectors, not for circulation, with mirror-like fields and frosted details that catch the eye. A 1967 proof dime in pristine condition with strong cameo contrast is especially beautiful and often becomes a centerpiece for anyone building a Roosevelt dime collection. Deep cameo proofs from this year are particularly valued for their aesthetic appeal as well as their rarity. So what is the real value of a 1967 Roosevelt dime today? Most circulated coins are worth only 10 cents. Uncirculated, brilliant examples can fetch a few dollars. High-grade mint state coins with strong details and sharp strike can reach $10 to $20. Pristine proof coins may sell for $20 to $30. And the rarest pieces, dramatic off-center strikes, double-struck coins, or other notable errors, have sold for amounts in words such as several $100s at auctions depending on their rarity and condition. If you're a coin collector or just someone curious about the small treasures hidden in your change, take a closer look at any 1967 dimes you find. Examine the mint mark, inspect the torch bands, and look for anything unusual that sets it apart. That little coin could hold more than history, it could hold a real surprise in value, waiting for the careful eye of a collector to discover it. If you enjoyed exploring the story of the 1967 Roosevelt dime and want to uncover more hidden treasures and fascinating coin facts, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every coin has a story, and we're here to uncover them all together, one dime at a time.